Yeah, so what I say is that I don't believe that God caused my children to suffer so that I would learn lessons, but I believe that a side effect from that season is like I know compassion in completely different ways. Like I see hospital administration through the eyes of a mom more than anything else at this point. And I don't apologize for it. Like I actually think, well, how could we do that different? And how could we think about that? What we kept being told is you need community to survive a transplant. Like this is not something you want to do alone. So I was like, well, I know LA, my church is there. And then we had friends who like we knew, but I didn't know so well, but they came in the summer of 2017 to visit Kenya. They're from LA. And while they were here, like they're both in the medical profession. So one is, we'll just call them Baba and Mama Micah. That's what we call them. And one is an emergency medicine doctor and the other is a nurse practitioner. And they had one son who was 17 and getting ready to start his final year of high school. And while they were with us, they said, well, if you come to LA, like let us know. We have a small guest house that we think we can make work. So when you don't know what you're signing up for and like it's so good that you don't know what you're signing up for because it's like harder than anything you've ever done in your life kind of thing. Like you go in with okay, like we can do this. Like let's just get our ducks in a row and we could do the process. Like that's the way you go into it. But oh my gosh, like we got there and the first day we were there, so the guest house wasn't ready. So Mama and Baba Micah welcomed us into their house while the guest house was supposed to be ready. Yeah. So we move into their house and they were so gracious. And Titus kept saying, like, we want to have small footprints because like we're in someone else's space. But like we had three toddlers. Two of them had like significant illness. And then we had a 10-year-old who had never left a village.
Oh my God.
Who did not really speak very much English. Who like she wanted to know like when the swimming pool where all the water had come from.
Oh
like it was completely
this is cute.
It was completely like what is happening? Well, also, because the way surnames work here, none of us have the same last name. So, like, and then, like, for Sharon, we go to the U.S. Embassy, and they're like, okay, what's your birth date? And she's like, I don't know. And she's like, well, honey, that's your assignment. And I'm like, well, we don't know when her birth date is. Like, it's totally made up. But, like, that disconnection of, like, reality versus, like, your lived experience.
Wow.
So we moved into this family's home, and they welcomed us, and they received us, and we stayed for 477 days. But in the middle of those 477 days... Yes, because at some point it was like, this is too much. We can't send you anywhere. Like, we need all hands on deck. Because within a day of us arriving, Ryan was in the hospital. He was so sick.
Oh my God.
So, like, we moved in, and then I went to the hospital with Ryan for 10 days, and I left my kids and Titus, like, in their home. I mean, it was just chaos,
No. How long do you wait from the day you find out when Ryan's crying?
Yeah. It's 6 months, and now this is at 17 months. So we've had nearly a year.
Wow.
Nearly a year, and
before going to States.
Yeah, and he had been sick so much of the time, and Titus like really like he's so compassionate that he was the one a lot of the time that was up in the night just holding him while he was crying.
And then, how soon before you become parents to these other three?
So that was like within another 6 months. So Ryan's got his diagnosis in September. By like April, May, the others were with us.
Oh my! And then by when are you in States?
And then we went in September of 2017. And then
God.
like the transplant team, so we started in another hospital, like Ryan's really sick, and then we're trying to figure out, okay, because there was a piece of me that's like, we've come, we're just going to get it done.
And
You know, it's like I had it really like compartmentalized of like, this is going to be hard, but they're going to be cured and we're going to go back. And it's like it was so like, it's what I probably needed to do. And it was so disconnected from what was going to happen. Yeah. So we started with Ryan's transplant, and it's like full on chemo. You're in the hospital.
Oh my God.
And then after 10 days, then like you begin to see all the side effects. And what ended up happening is we had been told about all these, well, you do the transplant and then you wait, and you've killed their immune system. So any virus, anything like that would be normal for us, it will actually, like, it's life-threatening to these kids, because like you've taken their immune system and now you've put their sister's bone marrow into them, and you wait and you pray that it will grow, and you pray that their body will accept it. And so it's curative, but it's also like you have to die basically to have a chance for cure. And we knew it, and it's one thing like to like have it as in your head, and it's a whole nother thing to like sit and wait. And then for Ryan, like he ended up having like severe complications to the point where he was in the ICU on a ventilator. And I just remember thinking like, this isn't how the story was supposed to go, because like we were so close to death. And there was a day where I was sitting in the ICU, and he can no longer breathe on his own. And I just thought, I need to write a letter to all of the parents who I've taken care of their children before. Because as much as like I wanted to be compassionate, like I didn't have any idea how much it hurts, and I need to apologize. Wow. I didn't know how much it hurts. And I remember like feeling like so sad and so disappointed, and not disappointed in God, but just like wanting life and not sure that we were going to get it. And there were a few things like I felt so confident in. Like I knew how much God loved Ryan. Like there was like no question in my mind. Like I knew how much he loved him. And I also knew that like there wasn't a promised outcome. Like I've done this care too long and too much, like to feel like he's going to make it, like we were so close to death. And like just to sit and to wait and to hold all of that and to long so much for life. And then to watch like that he didn't die, like we got the gift of his life, and little by little, like it took close to a year for him to like really recover, but just to like sit in that space and to hold. And Ella, we had sent to be with my parents. And after Sharon had donated her bone marrow, we sent her to be with my parents. And so it was Joffrey and Ryan who were in Los Angeles.
Now they also had to go through the same process.
Oh, we'd had to do it again.
Oh my God.
So when we went into the first transplant, like I built a nest. Like fully, like I need the right pajamas. I need a Kenyan flag. I need people to know that this child has a name and a story. Like not in a bad way. It wasn't like it was just like so much like, can we have the right snacks? Can we have the right things? Like I needed a nest, because I was like, if we're going to be here for 60 days or 90 days or whatever, like I need like this place to be safe. And I don't know why I did this, but when I was a kid, leading up to Christmas, we would have these paper chains where every day we would take one chain off, and then at the end, it would be Christmas. I don't know why I did this, but I built a reverse paper chain of like starting with one and every day adding it. And on the first day, I wrote on the paper, "Let the healing begin." but then like when we were so close to death, and I just like, I told my mom, like, I'm not making another paper chain. And she's like, well, your story's not finished, so you are adding a paper to the chain. And so like she told me, like, you're not giving up, like you're adding another paper to the chain, as if that was like what symbolized like what was still life and hope. And it was Christmas, and so there were Christmas lights all below us, and I mean, he was sick to the point where, you know, they had to do CPR and send me to the hallway, and like where I stood in the hallway and prayed and cursed and all of, you know, the things that, because I was by myself, and I was in this row of pictures of these birds called puffins, like who somehow became my friends in that season, like, because it was just like Jesus, like breathe life. But at the same time, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is our story. And so Ryan extubated himself, and so they were doing
Extubated meaning
he took the tube, the breathing tube out, not like in a good way,
yes.
Like it got dislodged, and so then he was no longer breathing. So they were trying to resuscitate him, and I came back in the room because it just like it felt like this is the end, and yet like it wasn't. And so I come back in, and over days, like he starts to get a little bit better.
And he's like, what, 3 now?
No, he's not even 2. So as I'm...
Not that it's easier for 4
No,
or 5
no.
years.
He's nonverbal. He's a baby, and he looks so little in the midst of all of these machines. And I just sat there and, you know, like held all the moments had. And during that time, I listened to this podcast, and there was this his name's Father G, and he's a Franciscan priest, and he was talking about his mantra, and his mantra is that whenever he goes in to meet with somebody or whatever he's doing, he'll say, now, here, this. And as I listened to him say it, it's like, it's the thing that I needed in that moment, as much as like I wanted anything other than the circumstances we had. It was like this invitation of like, will you still be present to now hear this? And it's, you know, it's HERE of where God has you right now, and to love this child that God has allowed you to be his mom. And so Ryan was pretty much nonverbal, going into the transplant. Like he started to talk when he was 6-7 months, and then he had so much pain that he stopped talking. And when he started to, even before he left the ICU, the only word, like his first word in the ICU is when we were standing, looking out this window, I'm holding him, there's all these tubes, and there's Christmas lights below, and he goes, wow.
Wow.
And I just was like, God, like, please, like hold onto his life, like in the same way that you have saved him before, like save him again, and like fill him with wonder. You know, like when he was a tiny baby and I would rock him, and like it was just like, please let this like few drops of formula like stay down. Like I'd pray that the joy of the Lord would be his strength. And now like we were in this other time where it's like, I'm praying like again. And it was a new season of prayer for me, because I was spent. And so it was mostly wordless prayers. It's like, I'm unlearning something that I don't even know what it is, but I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to grow in the love that God has for this child, and I'm going to experience it. And like, please like fill me with wonder too. Like if he's going to say, wow, like let me like also lean into that.
Wow. So what about the other 2 kids?
So
And does he?
So he gets a lot better. We're still with Mama and Baba Micah. Now, Micah is in his senior year of high school.
Oh my God. He's
The
gotten
school,
this.
the school, he's welcome to the entire, they call us the Kenyans. He's welcome to all the Kenyans into his house. And he's sharing a bathroom with Joffrey and Ella and Sharon. So it's
my
like,
God.
like we've really moved in. Now, across the street is his high school. And every morning before school and every afternoon after school ends, like 15 to 20 high school students come to hang out. I am telling you, they were among the greatest gifts.
For real.
They became our people. Like they became this community, and every day they came and played with our kids. And they, like we call them the high schoolers, and there's a lot of them. And now they're adults, and like we're still like close to them. But like the way that like before we did treatment that someone had said you need community, like I expected it to look like something over here. Instead, it was like 15 high schoolers who just kept showing up every day, and it was such an incredible gift. So Ryan ended up being in the hospital for 60 some days, and then we came back, and then we knew we have to do it again.
Oh. God.
So Ella and Sharon came down for just a few, like a month, 2 months, and then we started the process again, and we took Joffrey back in.
So Joffrey goes in now to also get his
bone marrow transplant.
Sharon was the one who was given that.
Sharon, so they were able to take enough bone marrow one time
so that
they could store it
and then do the different transplants.
Yeah.
And is the taking out also a crazy process?
It's under surgery. So we had all 3 of them in the hospital. And in between, like Ryan being like in the ICU, Joffrey would need to come for blood transfusions, and like we were juggling, like it was wild. But all the while, so when Ryan got so sick, Baba Micah just said, I mean, he's a doctor, he's busy, he has a lot of important things to do. He's like, I'm going to drive you every day. And I was like, I can drive. And he's like, yeah, you can, but everyone's asking how they can help you, and this is what we can do. So Mama Micah was at home, like really taking care of our kids and the home. And Baba Micah at 6 a.m. every morning, he would take me down. Titus would do the night shift with Ryan. I would come in the morning. I would stay till like 7 p.m. And then Baba Micah would bring Titus back and then drive me home. And he did it like over and over and over again with Ryan. I mean, it was a kindness. Like I was so moved by kindness during those days. It's like, how did I not ever notice like just, I don't know even how to describe it. But it was it was a gift. And then when we started with Joffrey, then we did 24-hour shifts. So I would go for 24 hours, and Papa Mike would take me down. And then the next day, Titus would go down, and then we'd shift. And Mama Micah would do a day, and then we would shift. And we did that for an extended period of time. And it was more than any one of us could do. And it was this thing of like, they didn't know what they were saying yes to, but they continued to say yes. Like we didn't know necessarily what we were saying yes to, but all of us believed and felt confident, like these kids are worth it. And like just how much they became like understanding more of God's heart and like God's, like the Father's heart for us. And I remember a day when like so sick, and Ryan was leaning on Titus's chest, and Titus just kept saying, "Ami you, Ami you," which is Kalenjin. It means I am here, I am here, I am here. And like just watching like Titus, like as a father, show up in the way that he did. Like he's not a medical person. I mean, it was like, you talk about like the cost, and also like we got to watch the miracle of them be cured. And it was harder, it was longer, it was darker than we could have imagined. And yet, like, they have 100% of their sister's bone marrow within them, and they are cured. And, you know, it's as you get further outside of it, you know, it's like you look back, like, and we were all wounded by it. Like, you can't not be, but I feel like we also, like, were given the miracle of their lives.
You know, there's so much in this story from everybody's perspective. Like Ella, she's how old? 2 at that time?
So Ella, when we went, she was 4.
She was 4. But that's a 4-year-old who now doesn't have her mom and dad with her.
And I went in knowing, like, she's strong. Like, she's strong, and I need my mom to have her, because if my mom has her, then I can do what I need to do. Like, I need to know that she's okay. Now, what Ella would tell you is that, you know, that she felt like she needed me, you know. So there was a season where she was with my mom and couldn't be with me, and, like, you know, feels the loss and, you know, the wounds of that. And Ella often, even as a 4-year-old, was the mouthpiece for us all. It's like, well, we're all homesick. Like, she was wanting her mapera trees. She was wanting the village that was on the other side of the world that was not accessible to her, you know? And a season, like, so disorienting because of so many factors, but not also being home was one of them. And she would probably also say, I don't want to speak for her, but she would also say, I think that, like, she knows how important it was, but she also knows, like that it was costly. Like, she wouldn't say it exactly like that, but, like, in the sense of, she knew that they needed treatment, but it also meant that she didn't get to be with me, and she wanted her turn. Like, that's what she would say, I need my turn.
I've never had a story like this in my life. I don't understand the kind of strength you and Titus had, the kind of love. You know, in fact, that's it. You know, we talk about love. You went to the living room, which you created as a space for compassion, and there was a baby there. And because you said yes to that baby completely transformed your whole life. That baby being Ryan.
Yeah.
And flipped your whole world upside down, literally. And the only thing that has held you is love. Because even as you give this story, despite the pain, the challenges, every single thing, there's no aspect of bitterness that I feel from this story.
Yeah.
Even towards God for allowing these things to happen.
No, I mean, I think that before I met Ryan, before I met any of our kids, like, God saw them, God heard them, God knew them. You know, like, one of the things that happened during the transplant is, like, I really wrestled with, like, I don't have any words to pray right now. Like, I don't have any words. And I felt like God was saying to me, well, but think about Ryan. Like, when Ryan was born and his mom died and he cried, like, he didn't have words, but you think I didn't hear him? Like, you think I didn't see him? And, like, that's the time where you're establishing trust versus mistrust, is, like, in these initial days of, like, of infancy. And for me, it was like I was back in that place of, like, I don't have words. And it was like I was saying, but you trust that I see you, that I hear your cries, that I am with you. Like, will you trust me with this? And that's what I feel like. I feel like, as hard, like, as painful, as exhausting, like, as much as, like, we experienced, like, well, one, we didn't bury our kids, you know, and I can't tell you, you know, where we would be if we did. Like, I pray that we would still be holding on to what we're talking about, that love like that love is enough. I didn't bury my kids. I got to sit on the edge of death and watch them come back to life. And I'm grateful, and I will always be grateful that they lived, but also that we didn't do it alone. Like God put people in our lives to walk with us, and unexpected people, who are now our family. They are they are our people. They were just here last week again, because they got to be a witness to it too. And they got to walk alongside of us, and it was dark, and it was unclear if it would ever be light again, truthfully. It's when it's so dark, it's like, I can't see any direction. And Titus is like, what have we done? And then we needed to do it again. He's like, I don't want to do it again. And I was like, I don't want to do it again either. But what are we going to do? It's really, really crazy times.
Wow.
And we came back. In January of 2019.
First of all, let me say, just before you continue about this, I now understand why you named Papa Micah.
Micah's house.
Micah's house.
Yeah.
Micah's house. I'm amazed to hear about the kindness of people. Love without actions doesn't exist, huh? And love is not convenience.
No.
And
it's not always
you don't
fluffy.
Plan for it.
No. And
they could have even told you, no, by the way, guys, the guest house, we fixed it now. Now
right.
move.
But at some point, Papa Micah's like, where are we? We're not sending them anywhere. They need all hands to help. This is too much. We signed up for too much. And so we stayed, and we watched Micah finish high school, and we watched as all the high schoolers went to college. We were there for Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, and then the next year we were still there, and it's like, there was no...
The one who didn't know English probably has an accent now.
Right? Her life experience is shaped deeply by that time.
What?
So, but then it was there was no clear timeline. It's if they're going to stay for 3 months, then you put up with that. But it's they've come and we said yes, and we don't have an end date.
That's why I'm telling you that. That's why I believe that love was genuine. Because that's insane.
Oh no, if you met them, they love my kids so much. They've had to put, we really have tried, and it's hard. So we stayed with them for 477 days.
And this, you know that age group of kids.
Oh no, we were a lot. And they were sick, and we did 150 some days in the hospital. So there was a lot of days where we were not all together. We were, okay, who's in the hospital today? And it was like that. But what also happened for me is I sat in the room as a mother, but I also, we run hospitals. So I'm watching through the lens of motherhood, but also thinking about, well, do I ask questions that way to patients? That's not very convenient. Why wouldn't we do that a different way? Or that's not very sensitive. Maybe we should ask that a different way or think about that differently. So I began to have
to receive it as
a new framework
a guest, because you don't call your patients.
I was the guest
in the living room.
I was the guest, and where for so many years I had been the helper, I now needed help. I could not do it without help. And the brokenness, the vulnerability, the prayers, all of it from that side. And then paying attention from that side, thinking about, but what could it look like as we offer care at Kimbullio, at Living Room Hospital?
I was going to ask you if there's anything that experience, that for God letting you go through that experience, if there's anything that you've taken out of it that you've now...
Yeah, so what I say is that I don't believe that God caused my children to suffer so that I would learn lessons, but I believe that a side effect from that season is I know compassion in completely different ways. I see Like, I see hospital administration through the eyes of a mom. More than anything else at this point. And I don't apologize for it. Like, I actually think, well, how could we do that different? And how could we think about that?
And you're able to even show the team you're not thinking about it from this perspective. And
yeah, I mean, it's all kind of integrated, but it's like, I'm not the same person. Like, I came back so different that I couldn't just step back in to the village in the way I left it, because I was no longer the same. And so I had to come back and find my way and trust that the things that I've always said are true for our patients and our guests and our team, like, could also be true for me.
This is a bit of a tough one, but what happened to one of the siblings who...
So Alice.
Yes.
So Alice, we weren't able to have the transplant because we didn't have a donor for her, but we've continued treatment and she's continued to be in the hospital on and off as she's needed it. So we're still exploring treatment options as they become available.
Yeah.
And then again, holding the tension. Like, we have there's not equity in our home as far as we have kids who've traveled, we have kids who aren't traveling, we have kids who, are adopted, guardianship, different schools, different levels of treatment. And not because, like, it's a favoritism, but it's just...
the situation.
Yeah. And, like, that's not how I would choose to do it, but it's how it's unfolded.
Okay.
So at our home in the village or here, when everyone's out of school, we have our 5 kids. Ella always corrects me if we say that we have 5, because she always includes the other 4. The other 4 siblings that don't live with us. She says that we have 9 kids.
Wow.
So we have 5 that live with us. And
then this 4, where the other 4?
So the older 4, Jacqueline actually works at Kimberleo in the kitchen. And then David, he has a mental illness that we continue to, like, try to get treatment and really serve him. And then Isaiah and Vivian. And so they've both finished school. Vivian currently is at the Living Room Hospital doing work like cleaning and in the kitchen. And then Isaiah's done a course in like masonry, carpentry stuff. So he's doing that.
Wow. Okay. Let's take a break, a much needed break.
Yeah.
We'll be back in a bit.
We've jumped through hoop after hoop to actually get to the States, and we are working with UCLA to do a bone marrow transplant. So in addition to Ryan and Joffrey, we came with their sister, who's 11. Her name's Sharon, and she is a donor match, and we'll be giving her bone marrow to help save her brothers. We're going to start transplant with Ryan first. The doctors, I think because he's the youngest and has the least complications so far, that he has the best chance of doing well.
Wow, must be so beautiful watching it live. When it came to where she should live, we said, well, just stay with us for a while. Stay with us for a month or 2 or 3, and we have a big house and there's just 3 of us, and so we'll make it work.
There's always risks with bone marrow transplants. Sickle cell disease with a matched sibling is one of the best case scenarios, and the latest research of what's been happening, it's a close to 95% cure rate. When we met with our hematologist, our bone marrow transplant doctor here, his name's Dr. Moore, and I mean, he repeatedly said this is a life-threatening procedure. Like, he talked about it over and over again, and it's, it's a lot to take in, but at the end he said, but I highly recommend that you move forward with it.
Well, hello, stretch. Stretch.
You have me.
I don't know about that, but yeah. I'm afraid of the process. I'm afraid of the pain that he's gonna have, the suffering that I know will be a part of it. I'm afraid of death. I mean, I take care of dying patients, but I don't want it to be my kids. And yet I know that this is actually the greatest chance they have for life.
It's different when you're being told, and again, it becomes different when you go through it. Being in a place where actually the doctors have a lot of experience, the medical team has a lot of experience, and these are things they've done. It's over several times, but then you find that your baby is being taken out to the ICU. That was quite hard because it's like it was out of their control also. Everyone was in shock.
Like, these complications that I knew were possible, but certainly never imagined would actually come our way.
That was some of the worst, most terrible times. Sorry. There was this innocent kid, and we thought that we'd killed him in that treatment. And to see Juli and Titus just suffering, wondering if you'd done the right thing.
He's so sick, and he looks so sick, and like the grief of that, the pain of watching him suffer and knowing. Well, I think on Sunday, I felt a little bit like it was a death sentence. By Monday, it felt like this is horrific, but I'm not gonna give up.
Was he gonna make it? And we really didn't think he would. And just the joy on the other side, when he got a little bit better, and a little bit better, and a little bit better, and then when he left the hospital, we were just in tears, like we did it. We got through it.
Ryan, do you want to come home? Do you want to come home?
Gas relief.
Yes.
Okay, that is.
That's it. Yeah.
Love you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you guys. Yeah. Please visit us when you go. Yeah.
When Ryan was in the hospital, there were people really from, I think, all over the world who knew about his story and were praying for him and praying that he would have life and praying that he would make it through. But I've thought a lot I've gone back to when he was born, and there weren't crowds that knew to pray and that didn't, really weren't asking for him to survive, and yet I feel like God knew that there was a little boy who needed to.
I remember when Ryan was so ill, and I would say to Juli, I don't know how to pray. I can only pray, Lord, have mercy, And then when it got time for Joffrey to go in, all I could pray was just, Lord.
And we have to do it again. And that's going to be hard because we've seen how bad it can get. There is a choice, and that is to not do it and to just love Joffrey and know that he'll have a very short life. He's already had at least one stroke, and we don't even know how old he is, 3 or 4 years old. So you could choose that, but it doesn't seem like there is much of a choice.
Well, we're back to room 3525, and this is where we did the transplant for Ryan, like 5 or 6 months ago. And now this is where we're gonna do Joffrey's transplant. It was hard the first time, and yet Ryan doesn't have sickle cell disease anymore, and I want that for Joffrey. And so even though there's a whole lot of emotions and we know it's a long journey ahead of us, it feels like the right
it's not just a feeling, it's the right next step. And so we're going to do it.
In Africa, sickle cell disease is terminal 90%, 100% of the time by age 5, certainly by age 10. So this is an opportunity to give him a long life.
Titus and I were just talking about how we know that a transplant is a long process and it's a hard journey, and it's kind of like a roller coaster ride, and so we're holding on and we're asking for healing to happen, and we know that we have to be willing to go for the ride. And so it's one day at a time, and when one day at a time is too long, then we'll do it hour by hour, moment by moment. There are times where in our griefs, in our traumas, and our losses, where we try to welcome or invite a select people to come into them, and the way they respond to that, it matters. Because the way that we, as the people who are trying to survive that, we need to be cared for, and we need to be respected. Like the ways that Mel and Mary and Micah have welcomed us into their home, but then interrupted their lives to make the journey a little bit easier for us. There's been extravagant generosity to us to help these little boys have a chance to live. It was a kindness that I can't ever repay. I feel like compassion is what we are called to do. I feel like, where it says that I've shown you what is good and what's required, and it's to do justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with God.
Can you walk with them? Can you show them how you walk?
It's funny how when you stop and you come alongside in that dark part, that you also get to see something really beautiful.
Oh, I'm the dad, okay. Hey, I'm a striped tiger. Does anybody know where my tiger friends are? Where? Over there. I see lions over there. Where are my striped tigers? Oh, hey, there's my brother right over there.
Going into the journey with these kids, it's interrupted our lives completely. And I know with everything within me